It's the weekend again, and you know what that means? We have more toys. Today specifically, we have the Losi Rock Ray 1/10 scale rock racer. This is a scale car, and you might be thinking that's unlike any car that I've seen out on the roads, and I agree. This is definitely unique, but this is a scale kind of RC model of the rock racers that they do, like competition hill climbs and stuff like that down south here in the United States. Big V8 monsters, 4-wheel drive. This is Losi's take on the Rock Racer, which is pretty cool. And I'll be honest, at first, I definitely thought, as you probably do too, it looks amazing. It looks really, really cool. It looks like a beast. Upon driving it for the first time, I was a little bit skeptical, and we'll get into that in a second. Part of the scale details you're gonna notice is the scale chassis. This is actually all these tubing and stuff like that. It is actual functional chassis parts, kind of like a real rock racer. And this doesn't have a traditional body like most RC cars do that you can just pop off with a couple pins. It actually is screwed on there, and the battery actually goes in on the back here, which is pretty cool. It has a little door. Now this is gonna run off of a 2 or 3S 5,000 milliamp LiPo, and it does not come with it. So you're gonna need to get a LiPo, and you're gonna need to get a charger. This is the ready to run version, ready to race version, but there is also a kit form, which comes in at quite a substantial price difference if you're willing to build it yourself. A couple of the key features on this thing is it's going to have a 3mm anodized aluminum chassis plate on the bottom. This thing does boast to be pretty durable. We'll get into that in a second. So this thing is, in true scale fashion, it does have a single rear axle there that is connected, and it has this long travel suspension. Oil-filled aluminum cap shocks. It is 4-wheel drive. It does not have lock differentials, but I have actually seen guys modify it to lock up all the diffs, which is pretty cool if you wanted to get more into the crawling side of things. The oil-filled shocks do have a preload adjustment, so you can kind of adjust it to your liking depending on what you're going to be using the car for. Everything is fully waterproof, so if you want to bash this through some creeks and stuff like that, just like they do with real rock racers, you're going to be able to do it. And we haven't had any issues yet. We've been running it in some snow and in some rain, and it hasn't given us any issues thus far. This thing is running off of brushless power. It runs a 2800 kV brushless motor that's driving power to all 4 wheels. This is running off of a 130 amp waterproof ESC, which is going to be plenty for 2S or 3S performance. One of the cool things too is it does have metal gear differentials inside. A lot of times you get these cars that have tons of power, brushless 2 or 3S, and when you run that 3S power through it, it has plastic gears and they'll bind up or grind. You're not gonna have to worry about that with this guy because it has metal gears. Lastly, it has these awesome scale Maxxis tires. They're actually called Creepy Crawler Maxxis tires, and I'm assuming that they're based off of a real tire that Maxxis actually sells. My buddy TJ, he has a rock racer, he has a Yeti, and he's put hundreds of dollars of mods, and he bought new tires and stuff like that. And honestly, the presence of this thing compared to his heavily modded Yeti is like the same. If anything, this one looks a little bit bigger and a little bit even more modified just out of the box. It's got very big tires. So enough with the specs, let's get into kind of the experience. And now at first, I didn't really know what to expect, and I'll be honest, I was a little bit skeptical just because this thing kind of claims to do it all, and it does. That's the cool thing about it, is you can, if you want to do some crawling, you can do a little bit of crawling. It is a great basher. You can do jumps with it. I wouldn't necessarily like go too crazy with it, but if you want to hit some jumps, I've seen guys do backflips with this, and it does take a beating. It does come out of the box with an LED light bar, which is kind of a novelty, I know, but it is super cool. When you turn that thing around and you're coming back at yourself and those lights are lighting up, it really does look really, really cool, and it kind of gives it like an over-the-top kind of look. It's definitely a head turner for sure. This does come with a Spectrum DX2E right out of the box too, and it is running with active vehicle control. So this is Horizon Hobbies gyro system that helps you keep it stable, and it is nice to have, especially when you're running it on 3S. You can crank up that AVC a little bit, and it is going to help you from peeling out when you're giving it full throttle, because the thing is fast. And one of the things that I realized with this, with RC cars in general, initially, like, you know, growing up and stuff, you always dream of having like the fastest RC car. And what I've learned, after you get to a certain speed, especially with a car like this, there is a diminishing return of speed. So like this thing goes like 40 miles an hour, and this is like way too fast for this car. Like you get going that fast and you're just like, oh my gosh, it gets a little bit nerve-wracking. Plus you're gonna be having all of your fun just like ripping over rocks and rough terrain doing 20 to 30 miles an hour. So speed is definitely, it is not lacking on this car at all. It is super fast, almost too fast for its own good in some cases on 3S, but you're gonna have plenty of speed to have tons of fun with. So one of the things to keep in mind, speaking of speed, is you gotta remember that this is a scale vehicle. So when you are going 40 miles an hour and you crank on the steering and you try to turn it, it is gonna roll. It has a high center of gravity. At first I rolled it quite a bit, but once you get the hang of it and you learn how to drive it like a scale rock racer, it actually is pretty fun and rewarding to drive. One of the things that I really like to do at first is, like, once you kind of grasp the idea that this thing literally goes over pretty much anything using sheer power and speed, it's pretty fun to take on like a journey, and not an FPV journey, I haven't done that yet, but more so like a line of sight journey. Like I took it all the way out to, at flight test, all the way out to the end of the field, all the way to the fence, which is farther than we like fly planes out there. And this thing was just cruising. You got to keep an eye on your speed so you don't roll it, because you have to do the walk of shame. But you can pretty much go over anything, which is a lot of fun. It's a nice sense of security that you can take it on long distance and just rip it and just have fun. The hobbyists out there, they probably already know like kind of what this is for, but for somebody who's looking to get like their first truck, or maybe get their first higher end truck, because it does come in at a little bit of a higher end price point, this is going to be a good jack of all trades truck. It's not necessarily the best crawler out there, but if you were to have some friends that were going out to do some crawling, you could take this rock ray and you could hang with them. You could go out and have a blast. And like I said earlier, I have seen guys that actually have locked up the differentials on these, so you have power to all four wheels at all times. And supposedly, it actually is a great performer once you do that. But even without the lock diffs, you're gonna be able to get over most things. If you can't get over it crawling at a slow speed, normally what I found is if you just give it enough speed, it will get over almost anything. It is very durable. It has metal parts in the areas that really matter, and then the rest of the parts are going to be this plastic, which gives it a little bit of flex, and it holds up pretty well. You couple that to the anodized chassis, it really does take a beating. On 3-cell, I would still be careful if you're doing jumps and stuff like that. It isn't going to be indestructible, but it is going to hold up against most bashing. I was having a blast. It was a lot of fun, very durable, very fast, but it all kind of clicked and it all kind of made sense to me when I took this thing up a hill for the first time. The first time that I ripped this thing up a steep incline, it was just like pure joy. It was very, very gratifying. It is basically what this thing is made to do, is to go up steep inclines, and it does it with ease. And that's kind of the cool thing of the rock racers, is you can do a little bit of everything. The thing that they're best at is going to be hill climbing for sure, but you do get that taste of rock crawling, you get the taste of just general monster truck bashing. There are even leagues out there, there's classes of races that people actually race these things on a specific rock racer course that has jumps, it has rocks, it has all kinds of different terrain that is specifically for these. It's definitely unique. So the type of person that I think this the Rock Ray would be for is for somebody who is looking to own one RC car. They're in the hobby, but say maybe they only have a budget or they only have the means right now to own one car. This could be a potential good one for you. I would say it's for the type of person that wants kind of a jack of all trade, but also a little bit of an emphasis on scale. This isn't gonna be like your stunt truck or like your monster trucks that you've seen in some of our other videos. This thing looks like a real car and it has a really cool presence to it. And if that's important to you, this might be a good option for you. So that's our thoughts on the Losi Rock Ray 1/10. Let us know what you think in the comments below. See you guys next time.